So, the h, which is inside the parentheses right here, what that does is it moves things left or right. What you want to remember is it's gonna be the opposite direction of the sign in the parentheses. So if it says plus, you're gonna move to the negative. If it says negative, you're gonna move to the positive. And the way you figure out what h is you set whatever in the parentheses is equal to 0 and you solve for x. And you move it in this direction. So an example would be if it's f of x minus h, you move h units right because it's the opposite sign. This is a negative, you'd move it positive. K, which is the thing that's tacked onto the end, is vertical translation. It's probably the easiest thing to do. You move things up or down. It goes in the same direction as the sign, so if it's plus, you move it up. If it's minus, you move it down. And you just add or subtract it for the function. Reflections, there are two types. There's some on the outside, there's some on the inside of the parentheses. There are vertical and horizontal. The ones on the outside, remember, are vertical. The ones on the inside are horizontal. What it does is it flips the whole function. If it's outside, it's going to flip it up and down, so it would like flip the pencil directly like this. If it's inside, so it would be horizontal. Let me show you with something. It's not a pen. So if it's inside, it's going to flip it from left to right. So it would flip it like that. So if it's a whistle. If it's a plus or minus on the outside, it's going to flip it vertically, so it would flip it up and down like this. We'll put it back the way it was originally. If it's inside, it's going to flip it horizontally, so it would flip it from left to right, so it would just flip it like this. So, horizontally shrink, remember I said horizontal is on the inside of the parentheses. You change what you have. It stretches or shrinks the graph from left to right, from right and left. So if it starts here, it either makes it smaller or makes it bigger. It's the value that's multiplied to x, so it's the b value multiplied to x. You take the reciprocal of b and you multiply it to all of your x values. If it's greater than 1, it's a shrink factor because 1 over b would be less than 1. If it's between 0 and 1, it would be stretch factor because when you put 1 over a fraction, it makes it bigger. A is a vertical stretch or shrink. It's on the outside again. It stretches or shrinks the graph up and down, so if the graph starts like this and it's stretched, it gets bigger this way. If it's shrunk, it gets smaller like this. It's the value that's multiplied to the outside of the function, and it's just the same value. You don't have to use reciprocal or anything. If it's greater than 1, it stretches it. If it's between 0 and 1, it shrinks it. A lot of times, we do a combination of these things. You have to do the stretches and the shrinks first, and then you can move them left and right, up or down. I find it easiest to work left to right because if you work left to right, you'll never be wrong.